Hi, I'm Rev Myron. I'm a minister through Pathways of Light, and I've been a Course in Miracles student for 44 years. I'm going through the lessons again this year, asking Jesus to clarify for me, and then I write from that clarity, and that's what I'm sharing with you today. So let's get started. We're looking at lesson 25. I do not know what anything is for. Purpose is meaning. Today's idea explains why nothing you see means anything. You do not know what it's for. Therefore, it's meaningless to you. Everything is for your own best interest. That's what it's for. That is its purpose. That is what it means. It is in recognizing this that your goals become unified. It's in recognizing this that what you see is given meaning. You perceive the world and everything in it as meaningful in terms of ego goals. These goals have nothing to do with your own best interest because the ego is not you. This false identification makes you incapable of understanding what anything is for. As a result, you're bound to misuse it. When you believe this, you will try to withdraw the goals you have assigned to the world instead of attempting to reinforce them. Another way of describing the goals you now perceive is to say that they're all concerned with personal interests. Since you have no personal interest, your goals are really concerned with nothing. In cherishing them, therefore, you have no goals at all, and thus you do not know what anything is for. Before you can make sense out of the exercises for today, one more thought is necessary. At the most superficial levels, you do recognize purpose, yet purpose cannot be understood at these levels. For example, you do understand that a telephone is for the purpose of talking to someone who is not physically in your immediate vicinity. What you do not understand is what you want to reach him for. And it is this that makes your contact with him meaningful or not. It is crucial to your learning to be willing to give up the goals you have established for everything. The recognition that they are meaningless rather than good or bad is the only way to accomplish this. The idea for today is a step in that direction. 6 practice periods, each of 2 minutes duration, are required. Each practice period should begin with a slow repetition of the idea for today, followed by looking about you and letting your glance rest on whatever happens to catch your eye, near or far, important or unimportant, human or non-human. With your eyes resting on each subject you so select, say, for example, I do not know what this chair is for. I do not know what this pencil is for. I do not know what this hand is for. Say this quite slowly without shifting your eyes from the subject until you have completed the statement about it. Then move on to the next subject and apply today's idea as before. In 2025, here's what I said. At first glance, this seems not to be true. As I look around the room, applying today's lessons to various things, it certainly seems like it is obvious what these things are for. But when I take into consideration the fact that I identify with the ego, I see that I judge their purpose according to how it affects the personal self. Since a personal self is an illusion and I am not, I see this as why I do not know what anything is for. I had a perfect example of this when I got out of bed. I went to my bathroom and turned on the light and the heater. I disliked the abrupt temperature change from the warm bed to the cold bathroom, so I appreciate this heater very much. This morning it made an awful noise before the fan got going. I expressed my dismay forcefully. Let's just say I said, darn it, or something stronger. I certainly felt like I knew what that heater was for, but who is it that thinks she needs a heater? It is the ego, the separate self, that is represented by a body. It is the ego separate self that has opinions and preferences that may be different than other body cells. As long as I continue to reference everything back to a separate self, I will continue to be lost in the world of thought projected outward. I don't want that. I want to awaken from the imagined world, not reinforce it. So I'm ready for today's simple lesson. I might have been lukewarm about doing it, but now I'm actually excited about it. This lesson, practiced until it is fully accepted, is essential to awakening. That is what it is for. So today, when I wrote, I said, after reading what I wrote last year, I wasn't sure I had anything to add. But I would add that if the bathroom heater stopped working, I would, of course, replace it. Understanding that I don't know what it is for and some don't know what it means doesn't necessarily affect how I use it or if I use it. That's not what this lesson is teaching. But noticing this misunderstanding of purpose frequently will help me shift my belief in a separate self. We all know who we are, but the knowledge is buried behind the false identity we took to have this experience. Remembering who we are and learning to identify as true self is our true purpose. What makes this lesson uncomfortable is not that I like information, but that I am asked to relinquish authority. I'm not being invited to replace ego meanings with better ones, but to admit I have never known what anything was for. In that admission, meaning is no longer my responsibility, and that is a great relief. Once purpose is no longer personal, the separate self has no function left to perform, and without function, it gently fades. Thank you so much for joining me in this reading. I did do a reading on the text, so if you'd like to check that out as well. Um, if you do find my readings helpful, then please like them. And if you haven't yet, perhaps you'd consider subscribing. Thank you. See you soon.